You're on with us now. You can hear us all right?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
That's all right. That's all right. Okay, if we got everybody back? Yep. Okay. Okay, Dee, thanks for your submission. You can take it as being read and you can speak to it. It's 10 minutes. That includes any questions from the councillors. So in your own good time, you may start.
Thank you, Mayor Sanson, and tēnā koutou to everyone. As in previous submissions, I feel that generally we are underrepresented, and so my submission tried to reflect that. The proposal is that our representation per councillor averages 6,385 under the new system. Now, back in 2013 and 2016, which were both based on old population statistics from 2011, we had 13 councillors, and that represented an average of 4,942 constituents. I believe that 5,000 should be the number that we aim for, and I think that 6,385 is continuing to dilute our representation. In 2018, that number was 5,665. So while I have talked to the wards, and I believe that for the reasons that I've stated, that they need to be revisited. However, today I'd like to talk to the community boards, and one of the things, the comments that was in the marketing blurb said that the community boards are a popular form of local representation and the area they cover could be increased. Now, under the proposed wards, new wards, we have 5 community boards, 3 of which will all sit in the central ward. Each community board has 6 members and 1 or 2 appointed councillors. So the central ward will have voice, a far higher proportion of voice than any other community board within the district. And in fact, we have 4 of the wards where there is no community boards at all. And I understand that the council has a preference for community committees, but I think that we missed an opportunity in terms of the review of our district's representation, and that none of those community committees were really addressed, and therefore that report failed to address how our communities at large across the district are represented to council. So I feel that we should either have more community boards, or that when the council is doing a review like this, that it certainly considers and informs its community of where the community committees are and how they feed into the representation of the council. I am pro splitting the OTCB, Onewhero Tuakau Community Board, and support community boards for the major urban centres. But I think it is really important that we recognise our rural communities with either boards, which is my preference because they have a legal ground for being in existence and therefore are considered in reports like this. But I do understand that the council prefers to deal with community committees as opposed to the more formal community boards. And I think probably that just wraps it for me. I do feel that our Maori ward is underrepresented and could easily accommodate another councillor. But all of those numbers I think I put in my original submission. And I think that the Tamahiri Newcastle ward needs to be split and could easily be split to give good representation around its communities. Are there any questions?
Right, thanks for that, Dee. Only thing I would say in relation to community boards versus community committees is those committees like the way things are. They don't want to be community boards. So just remember that it's their choice to have that. They don't all think like some politicians who think they should be something else.
Which is why they should be included in the conversation here in this document and around community representation, because this is a representation review, and it's, while I understand it's a requirement under the local body, whatever law that it is, that it's a requirement for you to undertake. I think to be fair to the communities, that you should at least have included them in the conversation in this document.
They were included in the conversation, they're just not named in the document.
Yeah.
Right, Councillor Beck.
Yes, I guess staying with that theme, good morning, Dee. Staying with that theme, I'm just wondering what additional upside or what is the missed opportunity, to use your words, of not including them formally in the document, given that all the pre-consultation had community committee input as well as board. And in fact, you'll see most of the community committees have made submissions through this process and are speaking to it, along with some more resident and ratepayer type associations. So what's the missed opportunity, do you think, of not being formally included?
I think from the perspective of the broader conversation around representation, because it's not evident from the documents, from not the submissions, but the documents that were distributed to the community at large.
All right, Councillor Sedgwick.
Thank you. Hi, Dee. Just I'm interested in your analysis. Can you just 2 points? Is the 15 councillors that you suggest plus 3 Maori councillors, or is it 15 including the 3? So is it 12 councillors and 3 Maori councillors, or 15?
It includes the 3 Maori.
It's 15. Okay, thank you.
15, yeah.
No, go on.
That was 15 to 16. I went through the list that I suggested, and it came up to somewhere between 15 and 16, depending on how those boundaries might be tweaked.
It may have been 16 if you'd included Te Kaupata, which is absent, I think, from your list. But thank you for doing that. It was really helpful. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? If not, thank you, Dee. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Right, do we have any other submitters?
Not as yet.
What time is it?
11:30.
Gary Maguire hasn't shown up. He should be here by now.
And we resent the link through to him. He did confirm earlier this morning.
So we've had a John Simmons as a no-show and Melissa as a no-show,
Yes.
correct?
Galen, the page number for Gary Maguire is the same one as his submission number. So is that, can you just give us the page number?
Number
Yes.
60.
60?
60.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Well, other than talk about the weather,
Right.
Mira, do you
Yes.
want to move to the actions in the 11:40 slot?
If so, do we go off record?
I'm trying to figure out what those actions are though, because I don't want to start deliberations.
Okay.
Oh, Your
Okay.
Worship, I don't think it's deliberations. What it is there additional information that you require for
Okay,
your deliberations?
I would suggest it's probably a little bit early, Gavin. I would say by the end of the day, it probably would. When I read the submissions yesterday and last night, I think Anton's going to have a bit of work to do. I don't quite know what that might look like, but he's going to have a bit of work to do. So we're going to have to give Anton a reasonable amount of time to be able to do that. We're going to have to give him some guidance, and I don't quite know what that could look like just yet. That's about all I've got, Gavin.
Alan, you've got some hands up.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't looking up there. I was looking at Gavin, waiting for a response from him. Councillor here.
Thank you. I noticed in the submissions, obviously not just the ones we've heard, but the following in the ones that aren't presenting, there are a few questions around transparency of the information furnished through the focus groups. I myself am unclear about the detail of who was in the focus groups, how were they consulted, when were they consulted. So is that possibly information that could be sent to councillors?
Darlene, you were going to say something?
Yes. So I can send the list of people that were consulted in the focus groups and everything out to councillors, but they were sent, those early engagement and everything were also sent the Zoom and the drop-in sessions and everything like that. No one actually, we had 3 Zoom sessions which no one entered for giving information out about the representation review, and only one of them was held during the day and the other 2 were held at 5:30 at night.
Sorry, hey, just interrupt. Gary's there. He said he sent a Zoom.
Yeah, hang on, Councillor Church.
Just letting you know Gary's there.
All right, I think my staff know that. All right, back to Councillor Eyre. So
Yeah, no, that would be, that would be fantastic if we can get that detail. Thanks, Galen.
Okay, cool. Okay, Councillor Church, you got a question?
Yes, I have. So with the councillors that have a close family member that put a submission in, so when those submissions, are any of those people for speaking in our schedule?
Where's Galen? Yeah,
Um,
I didn't look at the speakers as much as
John
submissions.
is.
John is.
John is
Yeah.
speaking as part of as the deputy chair of the community committee. I've not been involved in their submission.
Yeah, so I just wanted, normally in that situation, obviously it's up to the person, but they normally sit back and not press and be engaged with that particular submission.
Then you're in that.
Well,
I think it's a choice that they need to make. It's not a choice I'm going to demand of people, but you know.
yeah, I'm just asking the question, just putting it out there.
So they put
people will be
their
judged on
declaration, sorry,
that.
Mary
Okay,
Ellen.
so
they
I'll
put-
have to leave the questions at this stage.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Turn your microphone on, Gary. And it's not lunchtime yet, too.
Mute. Got you now?
Morning, Gary.
Yeah, how are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Good, Your Worship.
Right, Gary. We've got your submission here. Everybody's read it, so take it as read. You have 10 minutes to speak to it, along with any questions the councillors may ask you. So the clock's on, so knock your socks off.
Good morning, Is everybody there? All the councillors or what?
Yeah.
Yep. Good morning, councillors. My name is Gary Maguire. I appear here today on behalf of myself and the TDDA, Tuakau Districts Development Association. Tuakau is one of the most populous towns in the Waikato District area that is facing hefty rates increases while receiving very little in the way of infrastructure spend. Tuakau, like Pokeno, is at the front line of the spillover of Auckland's population into Waikato. However, unlike Pokeno, Tuakau has received very little support from our Waikato District Council. Our representation on council is considered disproportionate for the growing population we have. We believe that the time has come to increase the number of Waikato District Council councillors to represent the growing population, specifically in the area Tuakau, Pokeno, and logically this would include the Waikato territory within the watershed boundaries north of the Waikato River that borders on Waiuku. We believe that the time is now overdue to split the OTCB and create a new separate Tuakau Districts Community Board to be set up for Tuakau alone. I say the Tuakau District alone, and that a new over-the-river community board be established separately to represent the growing population of people in the south side of the river, Pukekawa, Onewhero, Tikahonga, Port Waikato, out to Nike and down to Huntly. In plain language, rural and urban do not mix. We wholeheartedly support the fantastic work done by our two Waikato District Councillors, Jackie Church and Stephanie Henderson, and we believe that the work that they do is exemplary. But they are spread too thin and simply outnumbered when it comes to say at council level. We wholeheartedly support the OTCB also. This current board is working very well as a team, but their focus and resources are spread too thin and too narrow. Tuakau now needs its own community board and more council representation in order to cope with the onslaught of the growth that is already underway. We need new blood, new focus, new vision, and a brave new team that can bring about the changes that are required to make the North Waikato a place that visionaries, investors, mums and dads with families can take ownership and make their homes and build a future for themselves. Our Tuakau representatives need to have the specific focus required to take the North Waikato area into this active growth stage and beyond. This will help strengthen the Waikato District as a whole and create prosperity for all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gary. Questions? Councillor Gibb.
Yes, good morning, Gary.
Oh, hang on, Councillor Gibb, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to give it to Councillor Wilton. He hasn't asked any questions this morning. As I said,
Yep, fine.
Councillor Wilton.
Thanks, Gary. It's quite interesting because a lot of the submissions are saying quite clearly the ones that do not want to be heard, how they do not want to be divested from the Tuakau Onewhero board. And I'm assuming you're on the Tuakau board and you're actually saying the direct opposite. So I'd just like some comment on that, please.
I'm not on the Tuakau board. I'm a member of past chairman of Tuakau Districts Development Association. But plainly put is that the rural members out on the OTCB on the other side of the river, their main focus, all of their focus is really on rural issues. And that's how it should be too. But in Tuakau here, like we're getting, look to the north straight out here, we've got Auckland pouring over on the top of us, and we need focus to get things going in Tuakau. The industrial developments, the zonings, and there's a lot of work that just needs total focus just of those, of the board to be focused just on the growth for Tuakau Pokeno in this area through here, without getting distracted and having other issues sort of piled in on it.
Okay, no, thank you. It was just good to hear the point of view.
That's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Gibb, you had a question.
Oh, yes. Just a quick one, Gary. Your comment about putting Aka Aka into the new Tuakau ward. Can you just expand on that, please?
The only, like when I say rural and urban don't mix here, that would be, it's really a fine slither from Tuakau down this side of the river, and otherwise the Ark people would have to travel all the way right through Tuakau to cross to go to meetings, say at Onifera or somewhere like that. It would be harder. So for the small amount of rural that would be included, it makes a more common sense to keep the Waikato River and the watershed as the boundary.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Councillor Hall.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, just addressing your comments about being spread too thin and Tuakau not getting the the representation and the focus it deserves. I would have thought the initial proposal actually speaks fairly directly to that. A single councillor for a single ward, a bit unusual in the new proposed regime, and again the splitting of the board. I would have thought those two things addressed your comments very specifically.
Yeah, well, it's just the feeling of the ones on the Tuakau Districts Development Association board. We've discussed it often, and with our councillors and with our community board people, they feel that there needs to be more representation up in this area here. We're outweighed when it comes to discussions in council down there. They're outvoted every time.
Can I just say, Gary, this is not about stacking the deck.
No, it's not. It's about fronting up to the growth that's here. Waikato pretty much dropped the ball on what happened in Tuakau in the past there. We all know that, we've discussed that several times. But it needs specific focus for, there's a lot of development that's going to go on here. That there's nothing surer. And going back to when we did the Commission for the Future plan there, Tuakau and Pokeno were forecast then, we were told that it would become a city with probably a 40,000 population within about the next 20 odd years. And we're quite a way into that now. Pokeno has lifted off, Tuakau hasn't yet, but it's getting ready to now. And things are getting underway here, but we need specific focus on this area here to really make it develop properly.
Okay, last speaker, Councillor Church.
Thank you, Your Worship. When you talk about that representation in the TDA, Gary, are you talking about the plus or minus 10% where the North Waikato ward as it is at the moment has been so far over that threshold because of the growth that you feel that there could have been more councillors in the north? Is that what you're saying, or is it because?
Yes.
Can you expand what the thinking is a bit more so
yes.
clearer for the councillors, please?
Yeah, the population growth is growing so fast, and the population is coming in from outside, and so the proportion of representation to actual population is greatly changing. It's motoring along now.
So just can I just say, Gary, the perception that Pokeno and Tuakau are the only parts of the district that are growing is probably misguided. It's actually across the whole district. It's just one's more visible than the others. That's Pokeno. That's what everybody focuses on, and yet that's only part of the story.
Oh, no.
All right. I do have time for one more question, Councillor Patterson.
Oh, look, no, sorry. It was more of just a comment to Gary, was more to confirm that yes, there is growth in that north area, and you're talking about representation and fair representation in the Ngunnawai and Huntly, or the central ward that's been proposed. There's huge growth in Ngunnawai and Taupiri as well, on the same speed really, and we're going from 4 down to 2 councillors. So, it's a problem we've got right across the board.
All right, thanks, Gary. Appreciate you making the effort to put a submission and turning up. Do appreciate it. Okay.
Thanks for putting the work in there. Good on you.
Okay, cheers, mate. Righto, Gailey. Turn your mic on.
Sorry. We don't have anyone until midday, which is Jonathan Lovett. He's not in the waiting room as yet.
Tiny, we haven't turned up.
No, they're at 12:10. And
Okay.
then Rosemary Costa.
Okay, so we'll break for another 10 minutes unless you've got anything else to do, which I don't think we have. So take a, I'll adjourn
Gavin,
for 10.
Gavin's got his
Oh, Gavin,
finger
yeah.
up.
Your worship, can we stop the recording? Because this is nothing to do with this